Hey everybody, my next guest is a stand-up comic known for his work at Good Morning America, The View, America's Got Talent, The $100,000 Pyramid, and HLN. He is also the host of The Tom Kelly Show, which can be found on TomKellyShow.com, as well as Tom Kelly Show on YouTube. Here he is, Massapequa's own Tom Kelly.
Oh my God, woo! Clapping for me, love it. I love a man who reads the bio and intro straight from my damn website. You can't screw that up. How funny would it be if I complained about that? I'm like, please, dude, don't mention a podcast or whatever. Which, again, Tom Kelly Show across the board. People, let me get my own plug out of the way since I'm now dominating the conversation. I'm Tom Kelly Show on TikTok, Instagram, Bumble, Match.com, Venmo, what else? Grindr. But I'm everywhere, people. Find me at Tom Kelly Show. Good. And you're from Long Island too, right?
Yeah, I'm from Long Island. I'm always a Suffolk County guy, originally from Brentwood, the beautiful town of Brentwood, Long Island. Now I'm all the way out here in Manorville, so all the way out east, right next to Riverhead.
And Manorville is what, right in the crotch of Long Island, right? If Long Island's a fish or two legs, you're right there in the crotch.
That's a great way to put it. Yes, we're right in the middle there.
Yes,
and then you know
I love? The people listening don't get to see your little hand gesture there. Right. That looks very sexual, even though it wasn't.
It's the fish. So Long Island's a fish, and the fish has the two legs. And you got the North Shore and the South Shore, yeah, and Manorville's kind of right in the middle before the split. So I spend a lot of my time on the beaches of either the North Shore or the South Shore, depending on if I want sand or if I want rocks. Yeah,
you're actually a great spot, though. Manorville's a great spot where if you want to go hang out with the rich people. Actually, they're both rich people now. I guess the South Fork and North Fork are both rich now, right?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah, if you go out east on the North Shore, yeah, you'll see some $1 million homes as well, and then of course you got the Hamptons on the south side. So, yeah, it's fun, man. It's a good place to live. I am not in that category.
I don't know. That's a pretty good Zoom background. You had your basement remade to look just like the Wayne's World basement.
Yeah. Hey, I did this. I said make it look exactly like the Wayne's World. So yeah, that's how we got going on. But
now, what is this podcast about? Forgive me for not listening at all. It's DONversation. I totally am on this podcast based on a reference from a mutual friend, Joey Cola. But you seem to have a Long Island emphasis. What's your gimmick here?
Well, it's mainly just a DONversation. I just basically talk to people that I think are interesting, whether, most of them in the comedy world. I interview musicians and, pretty much anybody that of interest, and just kind of pick their brain and see what I can learn from them.
Good. That's the gimmick of my podcast. My podcast is about me owning the midlife crisis. And it's very existential. At some points it's comedy. And then at one point I was trying to go viral with it. And then I said, you know what, man, why don't you just have fun? Just talk to people you like for 20 minutes at a time. And that's what I do Mondays and Wednesdays at TomKellyShow.com or on the Tom Kelly Show podcast.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about trying to go viral, because you never know what it is. What's that secret sauce that gets something to go viral versus another show or what have you. So I've kind of in a way given up on that too, and just doing it because I love it. I just love to interact and talk to people.
Well, I'll tell you what is working, and I hate it, and it's probably what brought you to me, is if you niche down, people come to you. And I don't want to niche down. I'm a man with broad taste, broad talent. I should be famous by now, but every time I have niched down to a geographic area, my numbers have gone up. But the problem is you found me because of what? The serial killer on Long Island jokes I've done.
Right. Yeah. When everything happened with Rex Uerman and knowing that you're a Massapequa guy and all the kind of the jokes and stuff coming out of that. But, through the tragedy, that's what comedy is, right? We find
the tragedy, and then even put the tragedy aside. I've been making fun of my hometown of Massapequa a lot on TikTok lately, and they do better than me making fun of New York City or the Upper West Side.
When I was a kid, I never thought there would be an accused serial killer on this block. We always thought it would be this one. I mean, seriously. 4 generations of Massapequa kids have been driving past this house waiting for there to be a murderer or something wacky. We call it the Satan house, and nothing.
You know, and I think it might be, I guess, to the point of what makes something go viral. I think it's now a thing of how do you define viral? There's a few layers of it. Like I have found locally, local humor has done well for me because, you know what, people from Manorville want to feel like they're alive. They want to hear a Manorville joke. And then going the other way, people don't want to hear a Manorville joke, possibly. Leave my town alone. Whatever it is, I feel like right now I have a joke going viral, and my politics are in the middle. I'll admit my politics if we don't have a political conversation, which is I voted for Biden. I could have voted for Trump at one point, but then he just got crazier and crazy. I'm just at a point where, it just got too much long before where we're at now. But I also voted for the crazy Republican guy against Kathy Hochul. And though I felt dirty about that vote, to be fair.
You're talking about Zeldin?
Yeah, my politics are slightly right of center. Zeldin was an election denier, and that's just like, you lost me there. And listen, Trump would have won the election if all he had to say was, hi, I'm Donald Trump and I got this. Right, if he acted like a grown up at the beginning of COVID, we don't have to argue about masks. We don't have to argue about vaccines. If just in the first few weeks, instead of calling it the China disease, all he had to say was, hi, I'm Donald Trump and I got this.
But don't you think that the powers that be on the other side, they were going after him regardless? So like if he said, hi, my name is Donald Trump, they would have been like, they would have found something to be.
Listen, actually, I'll give you some credit. Yeah, listen, that's politics. They were, listen, they went after Bush and he got reelected twice. And listen, W. Bush is a great ex-president.
Right.
Graceful man doing more for Africa than, actually, I don't want to get myself canceled by saying than any other president, but yeah, he cares a lot about African hunger. His paintings are nifty. He is a gentleman and a leader. I mean, if we ignore the two wars,
I do think that a lot of presidents are better after their presidency. Like, I feel like they're more like, look at Jimmy Carter, how much he did after his presidency.
And I'll argue everyone was better after their presidency, except for Trump, who's just still like, rah, rah. I don't have any more in me. I want a mature, I could vote for possibly Pence. I could vote for anybody else. If I just found one stable, mature person under the age of 95 who can walk up a flight of stairs.
That's the biggest problem right now is for some reason we keep holding on to the same politicians forever, like Biden and the Clintons and all of the Bushes. They go all the way back to my childhood and they're still here. Like, so and I'm 51.
So I'm not much younger than you. And I'll tell you a funny one. I had a website in the year 2000. It was called goregals.com. And it made fun of Al Gore and dynasty politics. And the gimmick of the website was Al Gore was using his family to get votes when it was convenient and at times when it wasn't. He would go the other way. And the premise was vote for Al Gore. His daughters are hot. That was probably my only funny. And I could name a couple of them. One was a comedy writer, Kristen Gore. One was Karina Gore Schiff. And then the third one, the son, was always getting into trouble. So we didn't really talk about him. No, and again, so like, here's a great thing to say about W. Bush. W. Bush, it was stay away from my daughters. And then one went into politics or one went into television. The other one is in witness protection somewhere. And it's funny. And again, great former president. Listen, Bush's guy who ran against, McCain. Yeah, whatever it was. Bush's guy didn't win. And Bush was a gentleman to Obama. Say what you want. And Obama he tried to be a gentleman to Trump coming in. They had a few. Again, that's fine. But to your point about dynasty politics, I'm with you, but show me someone better. We like our brands. That's one American problem. Like right now, Coke or Pepsi.
I'm more of a Coke guy.
Now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if you get a Pepsi, though, do you make a little face?
My wife does. Yeah, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Yes, we
Yeah.
are brand loyal, and that is a big problem with and we have our team. So if you feel more inclined with the Republicans or Democrats, I like to be independent because I don't have to choose a side, so to speak. And
What are you registered as? What are you registered as?
I'm registered independent.
Are you really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
then
have
I
you
switched. I
voted?
was libertarian for a little while, then I went independent. I never
So-
wanted to be locked in.
So, like, just on the count scorecard, last couple of years, have you voted for all Republicans, Democrats, or a little bit of both?
Well, I voted Nader one year.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, I like that. No,
Yeah.
and I'm a big believer in. I hate people who say, "Me, that's a wasted vote." No, it's my vote. Mind your own damn business.
That year, I remember too. It was I didn't like either one. I think it was who was it? It was Bush, and who was he going up against? Because I didn't like either one at the time. So but I like Nader, and I still like a lot of what
It was
Nader
either
says.
Bush, Gore, and now you got me going crazy. Bush, Gore.
It might have been the Bush
Kerry.
Gore. And we still got all these guys still in our lives, but and there is some young blood on both sides.
Well, listen, and without getting crazy on the politics, I thought Biden was the one for 2020. He was. He was just the one guy who I thought could bring us to the middle, and he has on a couple of things, and he's disappointed me on a couple of others.
Been a significant. Sorry.
Find me somebody who has a reputation enough to talk to people and make an effort, who has a brand name enough to get more than 50% of the vote or close to 50% of the vote. And I'll add the jokes. I voted for the guy. I like the guy. I don't love some of the people behind him on the line, but find me a man or woman. Listen, and to be honest with you, I didn't love voting for Hillary, but I did. Honestly, I couldn't vote for Trump the first time. If you saw Atlantic City and the giant building with the word Trump with the giant letters outlined, not even painted over. The difference between Trump and Bloomberg was always, in my mind, Trump was out for Trump. Bloomberg really was out for some sort of a legacy.
Gotta give them everything we got. Gotta help them if they want me to or not.
You find me a man or woman who has a brand name, a charm, someone who can give a good speech, someone who could pick a few good people behind them to run things, somebody who is not being charged with anything by any major government institution, and again, making fun of both sides, can walk up a flight of stairs without tripping,
Right.
under the age of 90, and I will give that person strong consideration, whatever party they have. Though it's funny so when I'm in New York City, people say I am too Republican for here. Like
Really?
they start, oh God, no, but this is where my politics are, dude. Whatever speech I just gave you
Right.
on the island of Manhattan, I am a right-wing nut job.
Yeah, because if you dare to say anything against in any way, even the slightest softball at the left, they could come at you hard. They're
See,
very
but now
sensitive,
even
very
you're going
sensitive.
at the left, and again, this is where the name calling and stuff.
Well, I'm just saying.
No. You're not wrong,
yeah,
but you're
yeah,
right, and you're not wrong, or you're part of the problem too. Hang on, and I'm going with this. Not just you, but that. No, I like you, Don, but that sentence is part of the problem. Pause, digest that. I have on my TikTok and Instagram, Tom Kelly Show, slipping in the plug again. But I have one joke about my hometown of Massapequa, written by my friend Zach, who voted for Trump. May or may not have been. I don't think he was in the Capitol on January 6th, but I think he was at an Applebee's a few blocks away.
Right.
He, also from my hometown, working union man, good man. He said, I said, my TikTok is, the politics in my hometown of Massapequa are so icky that I sometimes call it Massabama or Massissippi.
Nice.
Now, the amount of people commenting, telling me to move, one guy alluding to what he has in his gun collection.
Wow.
And that's one. But most of the people telling me to move. Yeah, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Now, 2 TikToks earlier, I'll give you the premise. It's actually a great video to watch. I tell a story about how I found a police officer's body camera in the bathroom after he took it off to go take a pee and left it in the bathroom. And I use phrases like, he was a nice man. I don't want to make this political. And I said, isn't it tough that we make police officers wear body cameras? And I think the real sentence was, here's a modern inconvenience we didn't anticipate, is all these guys are sending D pics to their sergeants.
Right.
Or vajayjay pics, whatever you want to call it, bathroom pics, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
Going the other way, I have people calling me a Mussolini bootlicker. I have people saying you're a right-wing nut job, you're an a-hole, you're a white supremacist, blah blah blah. And here's what I know, Don. Liberals and conservatives have 2 things in common. 1, they can't take a joke, and 2, they don't like me.
Yeah, everybody seems ultra sensitive these days, and it makes it harder and harder to perform comedy or try to even be funny or any of that kind of stuff.
The hard part with anything, here's the hard part with centrist people, and not you. You're a little right of center, and honestly, I think I might be too. At least this week I am.
Yeah, that's how I am. I kind of ebb and flow.
Well, I mean, I believe in being a good human being and doing your best to help the poor, but realizing we can't help everybody all at one shot anymore. You know, I mean, you know what it is? I'm actually probably very much a liberal emotionally and religiously.
I think we all want the best for humanity. I think both sides do.
But there's also, you need a grown-up to say we can't save everybody. Right. You can't get everybody on the lifeboat. You can't. And and I don't know if you still want to have basketball, but this is my thing about liberals, especially as we talk out of both sides of our mouths. You got Biden letting everybody in off the border. Fine. Somebody I love came in the hard way from South America. You want to let everybody in, fine, but you're not giving the cities the tools to take care of these people. And rich people. And I mean, my joke about rich people, listen, there's a story that I've been told is not true by my father, but there was a legend about my Irish grandmother that she would let poor, drunk Irish immigrants, and she was from Ireland, she would let guys drying out, guys dealing with alcoholism problems and whatnot, guys who were homeless, she would let them live in her apartment, was the legend. Turns out she managed an apartment building. She'd let them hide in the basement. But
that's still nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the legend. There's nothing funnier than seeing people on TV who own 4 houses saying we need to let people in. We need to take care of the homeless. Well, let them use one of your guest rooms in the Hamptons. And I mean that for real, though.
Yeah.
Imagine if, and I don't I'm still there's part of me that would love to have been a priest, could have been a priest. If I had unlimited financing, I would have considered it. At least the social work end of it.
Right. I could see that.
I mean, if you gave me a budget, but if you gave, I really admire people who run soup kitchens. There's a social worker in my very rich neighborhood that runs a food pantry, and you can't believe it, but there are people who need the food pantry in Massapequa. I mean, if there's anybody listening who has a few bucks, Sister Lyola was the nun who used to run it, and then I met the modern social worker who's there, and it's a food pantry, and I even know my friend's grandma was using it.
Right.
Because it's, these are people trying to stay in the houses they lived in the neighborhood that keeps getting richer and richer and richer.
Yep. Yeah, you don't realize
now,
it touches on it.
At a certain point, though, Yeah. Anyway, I could have done that if I had a budget. But at a certain point, you got to realize, listen, if we all want to truly be communal, which is there's times where I feel guilty for. Listen, I feel guilty. There's a nice homeless couple down the block.
Right.
My mom, down the block in New York City. So I split my time between New York and whatever.
Okay.
But my mom and dad or your mom and dad.
Right.
Older. I've never seen this with people on the streets, but it's a older husband and wife, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
This place, and listen, this is where I'm a sinner. I'm part of the problem. I go to my mother and father's in Massapequa 3 nights a week, sometimes 4 right now with my career being back and forth, ebbing and flowing.
Right.
And if I were a real human being, I'd say, here's the keys. You could use it Monday to Thursday. But I'm not. But what I love about liberal America is we say, hey, bring everybody in, and then they're going to go stay in your neighborhood, but not mine. Not in my backyard,
And we've seen that put to the test.
Where the heck is the president of the United States?
That is a good question. This should not be happening to New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, and the other big northern cities. And really, it should not be happening to El Paso or Brownsville, Texas. This is a national problem, and it needs a national solution.
But I'm with you. Like, I understand what you're saying about feeling like you're part of the problem, feeling guilty about if you see, homeless couple and okay, I have this, my place is empty. But I think you don't know what you're getting into. Then you could open up a Pandora's box of sorts. There's a double-edged sword to it all. Like they say, the path to hell is filled with good intentions and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that would be wrong to do that, but I'm saying there might be other ways to help that couple rather than to give them your apartment.
And now we're getting into the whole thing of, now I'm rambling and also, fantasizing here.
Right. I'm just, but
listen, Mother Teresa, when we talk about if you ever start feeling good about yourself, Don.
Okay.
When you feel like patting yourself on the back for something, just remember, somebody found letters from Mother Teresa as she was well into her career of being Mother Teresa.
Right.
And the letters were thoughts of Mother Teresa saying, I'm not sure if I'm getting into heaven. So if Mother Teresa didn't know, a woman who has been canonized but is not quite a saint, I believe. Okay. Right. If Mother Teresa didn't think she was going to heaven, what chance do you and I have?
That is true. That is a good point. That we have to, I don't know if anyone could do more than Mother Teresa has done through her lifetime, as far as saving unfortunate souls and all of those type of things. And like you say, we're in a really crazy time where we could use more Mother Teresas now. That's for sure. There's so much craziness going on, and even right in your own backyard.
Oh, you're bringing it back to Massapequa. You know what I love? By the way, folks who are listening to this, and I'm talking to both of you, I want you to appreciate this moment with Don, because Don is the only man in media who could transition from Mother Teresa to serial killers. That's where he's going. Am I right? Am I right, America?
Yes.
Wrong button.
Nice. Very good.
There we go. Am I right, America? There you go.
Love it. Yeah, we're in crazy times, and now it's hitting us right at home here. You're a Massapequa guy. You've walked through the neighborhood over there where Rex Uerman's house was. He just today is Tuesday. What's the date? August 1st. This will air probably this weekend on Friday. But yeah, he just today pled not guilty in court.
Accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Uerman appears in court briefly as his case moves forward. Suffolk County's district attorney is confident Uerman is the man responsible for the murders of 3 women.
His family went. His wife and 2 kids went back to the house, so it was ransacked and gone through. And what's your, as not only as a human being who cares about and empathy towards people, in the victims and all this stuff. But as a Massapequa, what do you guys call it? Massapequan?
Massapequan is probably the name of it. So first, a few things. One, I think we need to, everybody in the zeitgeist needs to get back to calling him the accused, whatever you want to call him, Long Island serial killer. I still, as an outsider, put the odds at 50-50 he is found not guilty. This is for those of you, and again, I don't know what Don's listening audience is like outside of the Manorville area, but to rehash the court case quickly, whomever the Long Island serial killer is accused of killing 11 sex workers and burying them in Gilgo Beach, Long Island, which for those of you who have never been there, Long Island's barrier beaches are the most beautiful, untouched pieces of land in the Northeast. It is sand, it is ocean, and it is a great place to hide a dead body. When we were kids, no, and I don't mean that facetiously. When I was a kid,
no, I know.
We would joke that the mob was doing it, and whatever it is, somebody who lives down there, or somebody has buried 11 bodies on the dunes down there. Now, there is a man from my hometown, technically is from the town within my town, Massapequa Park, and I'm getting a lot of hate mail for that. There's a man from just north of the train tracks in Massapequa Park who has been accused of being the serial killer. I don't know I know people who are 2 degrees away from him.
Yeah.
I am 2 or 3 degrees, if you can, I don't know anybody. Actually, no, never mind. I know one person, and I'll say the name later because he doesn't want to. You may know him. You and I may be 2 degrees away from him if I drop the name later.
Okay.
Look at Don. Don's like, I got next week's booking coming through. Yeah.
I think I might know who you're talking about. It might be a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. You could text me the name on, let's not say it out loud because I think he's getting shy. If it's the same person, if it's my friend and yours, if your friend is my friend, he's getting shy. He was hot for it and silly about it the first day. And then he goes, and I think this is what's happening to everybody.
Right. Because
the Long Island serial killer, and to add to the background is, it's been a mystery for 12 years. It has been the subject of speculation for years. There are podcasts that accuse former police officers of being involved, going up to the highest levels of Suffolk County politics. And the story on this is Suffolk County's renewed the investigation a year or 2 ago, and they found a guy from my hometown. And if you want to get into the pieces of color you don't get if you are from another place and you haven't been there, it's like $800,000 house in 2023 condition, $800,000 house in 23 condition, $800,000 house in 2023 condition, then it's house in 1960 condition, and then back to $23 million house. That's the block.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, it's a shock to the neighborhood that you could think somebody who, and I did a whole podcast on it. If you want to get the vibe of what it was like to find out somebody could be accused of something so horrific in your hometown, go listen to Tom Kelly Show. I think it's episode 310, or it may not even be numbered, that one.
Yeah, that's the one when you're walking through the neighborhood.
I walked through the neighborhood, and then I walked through where the beaches are. And it's worth checking out.
Right, yeah.
And here's why. Because this part of Massapequa is Anytown, USA. The commuter rail is just a few blocks away. Where I went to 7th grade is just a few blocks away from it, 2 blocks away from his house.
Yes.
Now, we could go through the whole thing. It's, the houses are immaculate except for his. I mean, the joke is if you had to pick which house on the block was the serial killer's house, you'd pick
it's the creepiest looking house you will ever see.
And then listen, all of my jokes that have been going viral on TikTok and Instagram have been about the effect this has on the neighborhood. You know, listen, we're in a perfect little town where we got the good school district. We got this, we got that. We got our conservative politics. Yeah, we have a real crime. You know, we have a real
this might be if it you know, I know he's alleged and pled not guilty, and you know, we don't know what evidence will be presented, but this looks like the work of what could be one of the biggest serial killing of all time.
Here's the deal. Like, here's the deal with this case and why I think if I were his lawyer, I could do half the job right now. It's, hey, oh, you want reasonable doubt? Go listen to this documentary that was done on the Lifetime channel in 2018. Boom. We're just going to put that VHS in and we'll sit down for 2 hours and submit that as evidence. I mean, basically, I'm going to be honest. Everybody on earth has been accused of being this person.
Right. Yeah,
you were at one point.
I'm still trying to shake that off.
I think you were trying to pin it on you. No, and
I told them I wasn't there that time.
You know, but we could make the jokes, and the jokes I've made I've been very careful to only joke about the impact on the town,
right,
and the people you see in the media over it. I think the wife and kids, just from seeing them in the press, they are not together, and I don't think they were together before Rex was accused. You know, the woman is not all there, the wife.
Right,
and
yeah.
One of the kids is definitely medically diagnosed on the spectrum, and I have not seen the other kid in the media.
Right.
I mean, these people are so crazy. I mean, and listen, I don't want to go too far into this, but I grew up around the Buttafuoco story.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
6 doors away.
Yeah.
And I should be teaching a class on media consulting for people dealing with this stuff. And one of the things is you don't go in front of the first day, Mrs. Rex was giving the middle finger to the press.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the sign of a well woman. That is not the sign of somebody who has a lawyer. That is not a smart move to deal with the media. Yeah. You know, you know, and the next thing she did was just sitting on the stoop and letting them take pictures of her all day. You know, while she's sitting there, and I don't want to say she was smoking cigarettes, but she was sitting there in a rocking chair. I don't know what the answer is.
You would think that they're going through, like, if they had no knowledge of this, and all of a sudden they find out that their father and her husband are accused of something of this heinous, and all the media and all the crowds around the house, it has to, and they're already, like you said, not well people. This has to really weigh heavy on your psyche, and you know, they're lucky, I guess, that she didn't pick up rocks and throw it at the media or something. Like you know, like I have a little empathy for the family right now, what they're going through.
Oh, I do and I don't. If it were you, I mean, listen, there's the part of you that wants to say, how do you not know?
Right, yeah. They should have seen some signs or something.
But on the other hand, man, you know, I mean, these people might have been, they're not well people. I mean, I'm surprised that the Nassau or Suffolk County Police did not provide the same social services we provide to other people. Like, I'm surprised they have not been put up in a room at the Best Western somewhere and said, ride this out for a few months or while we, you know, but on the other hand, if it were your house and your significant other were accused of being a drug dealer and, you know, not quite so, you have to clean up what they investigate and trash.
Right. Yeah.
And two, but in their case, I have friends who work in the media who wanted to pay me as a consultant to help introduce them to neighbors and stuff. And I said, no, thank you, for a couple of reasons. The big one being, I don't know if anybody worthwhile ever talks to the media.
Right. Right.
As a man in the media, as a man who grew up on one end of those stories, and as a man who I actually probably would have not been a comedian and been a journalist had I not grown up around the Buttafuoco story. It just broke my heart that guys, the noble story of Dan Rather, like the noble, like wartime journalists, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
That those guys would then be talking, and this auto body mechanic was possibly sleeping around with a teenager.
Eyewitness News is next. And coming up, she's only 17, but she is accused of a very adult crime, pulling the trigger on the wife of her 38-year-old lover.
I'll tell you, it wasn't until I was working at Dateline NBC for a while, I met a reporter named Mike Taibbi. And Mike Taibbi had a great line of, when you see something in the sensational media, you have to think about why people are talking about it. And you're right. It's like, this could be your neighbor. What would you do? This could be your daughters in the beach. I mean, and again, not to, I mean, it's just funny without getting into the whole thing of sex worker, not sex worker. Could they have, if your daughter fell on bad times, man.
Yeah.
I mean, could have been your daughter answering a call. Do I have any friends who've actually been prostitutes? No, but I have friends who've, or it's funny, I'm only hearing story. Every now and again, I hear a story of someone who got close.
You always think, I mean, people always like, if they get in a bad situation, hey, I could, make money through this means, but then you're going into a whole dark world, and you for one way or the other. I mean, and you could fall into bad hands, and I think too, with sensationalizing the media, when it does touch close to home, when it does feel like everyday USA neighborhood, and here comes the potentially the guy's got the dark creepy house, the creepy family, he's got all the tools that, like, to a story like this would just start really cooking. And it's funny because this story you hear more about than you hear about the potential UFOs and aliens we have.
Oh, the UFOs and aliens, let's put that on the side. That's a whole other world. Literally. Anyway, but listen, I'll tell you a good joke, or I'll tell you my jokey joke that doesn't work, that I'm retiring already from it. There are three types of people you see in these stories in the news. There's always the neighbor who's like, I didn't know nothing. They were always nice to me. Then the second person you see on the press is the person who has inside scoop, but it turns out they live nowhere near that person and may have only met them once or twice. Right. And then my favorite person you always see on the news is the person who airs unrelated grievances to the crime to complain about the person accused of the crime. Like, there's always one guy on the news, like, and Bob down the block was accused of being a serial killer. And then there's always the neighbor who's like, well, he never mowed his lawn. Well, what does it have to do with the serial killing? Yeah, and his car was ugly too. And they always played loud music.
His wife gave me the finger.
Yeah. Unrelated, and they're airing other grievances and using this moment to get back about the other grievances.
What's your reaction?
My reaction is, this is nuts. It's really, really crazy. You never know, you never know who your neighbors are, right? It's crazy, man.
When you're putting together jokes and stuff for TikTok based off of this, it's got to be such a fine line. How, as a comic, do you find the humor in something like this, like Rex Heuermann?
Well, there is no humor in Rex Heuermann. And once we get that out of the way, for me, no, and it's very real. You don't make fun of the people who died. And I think you have to remember, with any real crime, and I'm not just saying this to be politically correct.
Right.
I'm saying this as a guy who grew up around that stuff. There are real people on the other side of it. A great piece of advice also. So that's one, real people. Two, great piece of advice Whoopi Goldberg once gave me that I'm now applying to everything in most of my relationships. I went to Whoopi. I wasn't going to apologize for a joke, whatever the joke was. And I'm like, Whoopi, you're right. I told her the joke, told her the situation. And just for the sake of me, joke was hilarious. Hilarious. But she asked me a great question. She goes, Tom, did you say that to be funny or were you saying it to be mean?
Right.
I don't do mean well. Other people might do it well, but I don't. You know, so if you say, you know, them damn hookers, I know it hurts feelings. I can't say it no more.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, it sounds silly, but I mean, there have been, and let me own my layer of political correctness. I am a man who has sinned before. You know, I am a growing man. Listen, I've used the R word. You know what made me stop using the R word was having friends who have special needs kids and realizing that hurt their feelings. I used to call things gay all the time. And you know what? I had a friend, Justin Lewis. I actually always attach his name to the story. He's a radio personality in Jersey. And he gently said to a bunch of guys and girls in college, that hurt his feelings. Calling everything corny, his sexuality hurt his feelings. So you know what? I stopped calling things that.
Right, right.
You know, now I know other gay people like everything's gay, blah, 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 you know, and it's like, well, you know what I'm going to go with? I don't want to be mean. I don't want to hurt feelings. So that's how I guide things. And then two, to the point of comedians making fun of pain, there is a trauma on the neighbors. I mean, dude, I'm being honest about where I live 3 miles away. There's a trauma.
Yeah.
And going the other way, when I lived close to the incident, it messed up, you know, in some ways, you know, like in the Buttafuoco thing, it was always like, hey, a real woman got shot.
Yeah.
In this particular case, it's a little bit sillier in that we don't know if the crimes happened in our town. And actually, and it's funny how I'm backing off certain jokes when now there's a suspicion it may have happened there.
Yeah, they say at least one in the house, potentially.
But again, it's why does this resonate?
Right.
It could be us. What secrets do you have? That, like, I mean, we all have secrets. I mean, and how do you know people have secrets? If I asked you to give me your phone and to start going through your pictures, you'd start getting, we all do. You know, now, I mean, listen, now I have no serial killer. God, I'm starting to talk Long Island with you. What happened to my grammar? I don't have any serial killer or murdery pictures in, but I have things that out of context would require an explanation. I take a lot of screenshots for my comedy writing. Right. So, Tom, why did you take a picture of that pretty girl? Well, it's the caption. It's not the pretty girl. Why did you take a picture? You know, like it's, again, out of context.
Right, right.
Secret? No. But other people, we all have something in our phones we don't want people knowing. We all have, and I'm not saying we're all serial killers, but we have something we just don't want to talk about with our parents. And that's the thing, though. Who has the secret? What's your secret? Listen, you have for those of you listening to the audio version of this, I'm looking at Don. Don has a backdrop of the Wayne's World basement. What's in his backdrop? What's hanging behind him? What pornographic things are in there?
Oh, you don't want to know what's behind this.
Exactly. Well, I know I could tell that you're in some place with good daylight because his left arm is lighting up like a Christmas tree. But and that's it. But listen, we're all hiding something. And we all know the people we know are hiding something. And that's why this is resonating. And to have something this big in our backyard, and also to have someone getting into some of the weird things too, where impact on the neighborhood. This is a dad who walked his kid to the bus stop.
Yeah.
This is a guy who was on the railroad waiting for the train the same way I have. I mean, now, do I know the guy? Have I ever seen the guy? No, but he and I were getting off the train at the same stop some nights.
Yep, for sure.
And we were all going into Penn Station together. That's where, so where's the humor? The humor is, it's not that funny. And going the other way, I told one joke as a man who's made his money in politically correct television. I don't even want to retell the joke. I told one joke that was more about me and using this situation. It got a laugh in the room, but I was starting to get internet hate mail of, you're making fun of the victims. No, I'm not, but I wasn't really, but I was making fun of the investigation, which was a little bit different than what my other rules were.
Right.
rule right now is I will make fun of the impact on the town. I will make fun of the impact on property value, and I will make fun of the weirdos who are actually, I mean, this is how nice Massapequa is. There are actually people who would buy that house for $500,000.
Right.
And that would be probably 100,000 or 200,000 under asking.
Right. Yeah, they're getting a sweet deal.
Yeah. And I made fun of that. Like, I'll make fun of the people driving by.
Right,
Like, there's a lot of, it's really annoying the neighbors, but there's a lot of true crime people driving by. They want to see what it is. They want to be attached to a story they've heard about.
Right.
You know, I'll make fun of them. So those are my boundaries.
It's a good study in the human condition when you break it down like that. And also too, for a guy like you who's kind of lived through two of these instances happening right in your neighborhood. You were probably a younger guy, you know, obviously with the Botafucos. Are you, because I feel like I'm like the same age as Amy Fisher was then. She was a kid, she's 16 then? I must have been 17, 18.
So she's about, I think she would be 49 right now. She's about 2 years older than me, maybe 3.
Yeah, so.
What about that?
Yeah, so, because I grew up the same age, like I was a couple years older than her, maybe like I was maybe 18 when it all went down. And it's weird when you're at different age levels, you relate differently to what happened. And then now, you know, then you go through, but for you going through all of this media frenzy at the Botafucos and how big of a story that was, it spawned 3 movies, all this stuff. And now here it comes again, another wave of this now, all these years later with this. What's that feel like?
Don? What are you asking, Don?
This never happens in Manorville.
Well, listen, that's hilarious. And I'm going to say it does happen in Manorville, just nobody cares enough to drive the extra hour out there to report on it.
Great answer. There you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, man. I mean, we could, if you go through every neighborhood has a bunch of stories. Now, Massapequa, again, very convenient for a reporter to report on. For real, the big media is an hour away from the city. We can take a medium-sized story and turn it into a big one.
Yeah. And you know, a lot has gone down in that neighborhood.
No, I mean, listen, it's very easy for Manorville or actually, I'll give you the other side of reporting for a minute. To get a big name anchor to a small town, you suddenly have to put your $1 million, you know, like pick your school shooting in a week. And I mean this with sympathy.
Right.
It's the business end of the reporting. You have to take your big talent. The talent can't do any other New York City reporting. You take them off that roster, and then you're sending them to Bumble F.
Right.
And not just school shooting, but any awful crime. Right. But they're now on the roster. They're staying at the Holiday Inn, which is really 3 hours away from whatever. You know, like you have to fly and then you have to transfer. And this is why crimes and stories don't get told.
Right. Like, yeah, that's why certain stories get more sensationalized.
But to your point about why Massapequa, it's a 1 hour train ride in. You don't even have to transfer at Jamaica. No, but you can get the big name talent in and out and they could sleep in their own beds. You don't have to put them up in a hotel. You don't have to fly anybody there. You know, once you go that extra hour out to Manorville, it's like, all right, which Best Western are we staying at?
Right.
No, I mean, and I mean that for real now. But I have no doubt, man. I think that's what makes this story compelling. Listen, Massapequa, we have interesting things in the drinking water. If you want to go through the list of famous people from Massapequa, we got Steve Guttenberg from the Police Academy movies. So allegedly, he is still somewhere in North Massapequa.
Oh, nice. That still stay true, huh?
Yeah, and a gentleman. I met him once, a real gentleman. Next one. You had Jessica Hahn, who slept with the Clintons, I think. She was... Now, I don't remember her, and I don't remember anybody driving to her house. I think she was long gone by the time that happened. We had all 4 Baldwins.
Yes.
And my favorite joke that is not mine, that I have retold on TikTok, and it's hacky to repeat it, but until the Long Island serial killer incident, The most famous accused killer from Massapequa was Alec Baldwin. Now, and there's one. Actually, there, and it's funny, that story. Why will I tell that joke out loud? Because I think that joke, I actually like Alec Baldwin, will probably end up working for him, and I'm going to end up losing a job because I just did this on your podcast.
Yeah, Alec's a big fan of mine.
No, but you make jokes, but out of context. I'm an admirer of his, but I think there's also something to be said about by making fun of that, making that Alec Baldwin joke. It is a reminder of safety on sets. Like, there's also something to be said about making fun of awful things.
Right. I think it's cathartic.
Well, it's not just cathartic. Cathartic's one, but I think by joking about inappropriate news or serious news, you keep serious news in the zeitgeist.
Right. You're shaming, in a sense. You're in a way, like you're bringing light to what was wrong.
Yeah, and you're reminding people it happened for another day or two. That's a little bit more palatable.
Right.
But by that joke, and the joke is like, that's a hacky joke. It's been retold on the internet 50 times. It's a joke. It's not a laugh. It's a shock. It's a hacky shock. But with that punchline, we are speaking truth. Two, you're reminding people of, hey, listen, you use a fake gun, you got to be careful.
Yep.
And then I don't want to get too political even about him, but you have so anyway, but along the lines, you got the Baldwins. Jerry Seinfeld is from Massapequa, but Jerry doesn't go back. Jerry's eager to forget Massapequa outside of one joke. He's ready to go. He's gone. And we could go down but anyway, there is something, and the other one with Massapequa is it's a great little town. It's, like I could say, you're really from Massapequa when you say I was born in Brooklyn.
Right.
Because nobody admits they're really from there. It's a fun word to say. Yeah. And it is. It's just, I could go through like when my family moved from Brooklyn to Massapequa, my mother would say, we're rich now. Not quite that.
Right.
Like I would say, why don't we go on vacation like the rich kids in the neighborhood? Your life is a vacation. That was one of her lines. Right. And then she would say, I would play with rocks when I was a kid. And then I would confront her about this nowadays. She's like, well, I did not say that. And I'm like, but Mom, did you play with rocks with a kid when you were a kid? And she goes, well, I did, but, I didn't say that. But it's a neighborhood of actually a TikTok that I have that went viral, a sentiment I expressed with a friend of mine on my podcast was Long Island was a town full of people who moved to the suburbs to do better. They wanted a good school district for their kids. And then when it was time for their kids to do better, their kids couldn't even afford to live in their neighborhood. Out of the people I grew up with, and again, it was the land of white privilege. I believe in the concept of white privilege, whatever you want to do. It is. It was children of cops and firefighters and working class people who worked hard, white privilege, blah, blah, blah. And then, frankly, they didn't live up to the dreams of their parents, my generation, a lot of us. A lot of us, not all of us, at least in mine, listen, I know a lot of great people I grew up with who have prison records, drug problems.
Right.
And listen, they're all, and I get it, man. I have my own list of failings. It was there's something to be said about you grow up in a neighborhood that's not that fancy. And then suddenly you need $1 million to buy the house you grew up in.
Yeah, and that's not. I don't know if that's on them or if that's just on the New York. The demand for housing here.
Can we do D all of the above?
Yeah, right.
Listen, politicking, bad financial planning on certain government institutions on both sides. Because again, NASA has the highest taxes in the world, and it's been run by Republicans for 118 of the last 130 years.
Yeah.
Like there's an actual count and the numbers are off. But at one point there were Republicans running NASA for 118 years straight.
Damn.
Yeah. And that's when Swazi came into power. Whatever you think of Swazi, Swazi broke the party lines after a 118-year streak for county executive always being a Republican.
Wow.
You know, and yeah, that's my yeah, and that's the streak. You know, and actually I'm getting another comment on that Massapequa video I talked about 3 hours ago.
Right.
Someone called it MAGA Pequa. We don't want it any other way.
MAGA Pequa, there you go.
The politics in my town of Massapequa, Long Island can be so uncomfortably conservative at times that I have friends who call Massapequa Massabama. But I prefer Mississippi.
You're awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. And
what are we doing for the second hour?
Oh, we're getting ready. I got the popcorn cooking. We're gonna no, but this has been great. Tell everybody once again where they could find you and catch the Tom Kelly Show.
Do me a favor, folks. I love to do this on everybody's podcast. If you're still listening to this, comment on anything that has Tom Kelly Show. I'd love for you to listen to my podcast. That's the one I'm emotional about. That's the one I'm putting my emotional energy into it. Wherever you are, Tom Kelly Show, use the comment, Don Sills, and I'll know you found me here. But I have a great podcast that is about me owning my midlife crisis. That's at TomKellyShow.com is the link to all things me. Tom Kelly Show. And I've been wanting to burp for an hour. I needed to get
there you go. Let it all out. Yeah.
Tom Kelly Show on Instagram, Tom Kelly Show on Twitter, Tom Kelly Show on TikTok and Instagram are the two apps I'm putting my energy into, and then YouTube. And wherever you can show love, where love can be shown. I am very needy and I live on comments and interactions, people, not direct messages, because people fall in love with me in the DM and I can't do that anymore.
Thank you so much, Tom Kelly, everybody. He rocks.